So we were sent a screener for Project Silence. And hilariously enough, there will be no silence during this because it's 4th of July and there are fireworks going off aplenty.
Yes.
So you're going to be hearing them in the background. No, we do not live in, like, Detroit. We don't have gunfire going off outside every 5 seconds. I just picked a random city for that. Anyway, Project Silence. Okay, so this is a South Korean film, and it is about a politician who is with his kid, and they're driving. They get on this bridge along with plenty of other people. And there's a bunch of fog, and there's these government-controlled dogs. It just sounds fucking ridiculous. That are in this. They're being transported, and there's this big 100-car pileup on the bridge, and the dogs are released, and now they're on a bridge where they can't get off of it, and they're trapped in there with these government-controlled pooches who just want to kill because they've been forced to be mean.
Yes.
Kaylee hates this. She hates any animal abuse, any animal being seen as the villain, vilified.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was like the worst thing for her to watch. So, my first impressions with this is that this must have had quite a budget. That's number one. Because this movie is pretty big. I mean, it feels like almost a disaster movie. It's contained to a bridge.
Yeah.
But the majority of the film is on this bridge. We have almost... I don't know what the dogs are. They're CG enhanced at least, if not completely CG.
I think they're completely CG.
If either way, you know, yes, they're noticeably CG to a degree, but it's pretty damn good. It, you know, I feel like the CG in this all around, while it is somewhat noticeable for this type of movie, I would expect it to be way worse. And I actually found the dogs to be mostly believable. They kind of reminded me of the dog. I never watched this movie, but the trailer for like Call to the Wild with Harrison Ford, and he is like with the CG dog.
I never watched
even
that
a
movie
little
either.
better, like a little bit better than that CG. I know that like is not good CG to people, but it just reminded me of that because it's like a whole movie of just like CG dogs running around. But as I said, I you know, there's one dog. E9, and that's like the leader dog, and we get a good amount of emotion and such out of that dog, and there's actually some like big action sequences, and there's one sequence in particular where it felt like an action like fight choreography type of scene with the dog like jumping around and like kicking people's asses, and I was like, that's kind of funny. But overall I enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm curious on your thoughts outside of like fuck the animal abuse that the government is doing on these dogs. Like, was this entertaining to you at all?
I think that it's probably an entertaining film. There's definitely a lot of stuff happening. There's a lot of drama going on.
Yeah.
Some like political drama and family drama. Yeah. So I think all of that was done well, and I liked everybody's performance. There's one character in particular that was really funny.
Yeah.
There's like a truck driver guy in
tow
this.
truck driver. Yeah.
He's
really funny.
He's very funny. So I really liked his character. But I don't know. I just had a hard time like getting on board at all, really, because of the story. Like, I just felt really bad for the dogs the whole time, and like, you know, one of the dogs is the mother, and I don't know. I had a hard time connecting to it. But the other parts, like, if I took everything aside from the dogs, like, if it was just about them stranded on a bridge and, like, the bridge was collapsing and, like, that, I'd be into it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the first thing that came to mind while I was watching this was Train to Busan, because it's like a dad and a daughter that are traveling somewhere together, and their relationship is very tense. And then this, disaster where they're kind of caught in this, so the bridge kind of acts like a train car where you can only go forward and backwards.
Yeah.
There's no going, right or left out of the car because it's death on both sides. So they kind of are trapped in this like, hull-shaped death trap.
Yeah.
And so there is definitely similarities, and I have to assume that was an inspiration for this film. But it also reminded me of a script I wrote called The Bridge to Nowhere, where characters get caught on a bridge at night, and there's fog in both directions, and it's like death this way and death that way, and it was just bumming me out. But then when I was actually watching this, I was thinking, yeah, that would have been a hard script to get made, because this needs a budget, man.
Yeah, it definitely
This
does.
thing had a budget.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars being destroyed, and like probably there's definitely CGI, but that's still very expensive to accomplish. So
yeah, the film felt expensive.
it did. Yeah.
I can only assume this is a pricier Korean film, because I haven't seen a lot of South Korean movies that spend a ton of money.
Yeah.
And to me, I feel like this is probably one of the more expensive Korean films I've ever watched. And I was pretty surprised by that, because if it wasn't for them sending us this screener out of nowhere,
Yeah.
I've never heard of this. I mean, it's not coming out for a little while, but I would think I would have saw a trailer or something. But no. So that was definitely surprising to me. But there's some good character moments in here. You've got a golf pro girl and her manager / caddy. You've got this old couple. One of them has dementia. That's got some really good moments to it. The dad and the daughter stuff pays off here and there. We've got our comic relief character who really kept me entertained and engaged throughout. You've got a lot of big action set pieces, bunch of thrilling moments and whatnot. So I feel like if you're really into like big action disaster movies and you want to throw a ridiculous plot in here with these government controlled canines, then this would definitely be something that would be up your alley.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of they were going to They were going to re-envision Cujo. And it was like, I remember seeing the plot for it when they had announced that they were going to make it. It never went through, but it was like the Cujo was an acronym for like canine unit joint fucking something. It was ridiculous, and it was all about these like, dogs that were trained by the United States government, and were
Sounds super similar.
Yeah, super similar to the movie, the rabies movie, and a mom and a kid trapped in a car.
No, super similar to
this.
movie.
Yeah. So this is what that reminded me of. Is like they almost took that script and then meshed it. We gave the Train to Busan framework, and then stole my script. Yeah,
and then combined it
and used it as the setting.
Yeah,
they're like, oh, that's a cool idea, because that was like my thing. So why I wrote that script is because I'm a huge fan, and if you look at any one of my scripts, they all have a very similar theme to them, and it's always these like trapped locations that people can't get out of. One of the things I hate in horror movies is watching something where I'm like, why don't they just leave? Yeah. Or like, why don't they just, whatever. And when you get trapped in a situation like in Saw, right, where you're literally just wake up and you're shackled to the wall, and there's like a puzzle to get out. It's like you literally can't leave, right? So I'm a big fan of that, and just thinking of like death on both sides, and then this like dark path this way and this dark path that way behind
and
you,
death
and it's like what's in
underneath
the
you too.
yeah,
You
what's
know,
in the
really.
smoke, what's in the fog. I love that idea, and having it done here, it's not really utilized too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they really. I mean, they use the bridge in terms of it being a trapped location for sure, but it feels more like the threat is the dogs until maybe a certain point in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a hard time with movies like this, and because I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe would I like it more if they were like not dogs and they were like monsters? But then I was like, no, because if they went with like the same story but just monsters, I would still feel bad because there's like a lot of emotional stuff with like the dogs and their relationships to each other and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think I would have felt the exact same way with monsters, because it's just anytime there's a creature that's being abused and misunderstood and like hurt because of it, I don't like it.
No, I feel you there. I mean, I definitely didn't enjoy that the dogs were being mistreated or anything.
I don't think you're supposed to enjoy it or anything. I have a hard time like
disconnecting,
looking past it to like enjoy the rest of the story, because I get really hung up on that element, and I'm like, I just don't like it. So
the movie is played completely straight.
Yeah.
Right, and I think it works for the most part, and it definitely plays around with like political aspirations and how it's easy to, check things off a list when it's just numbers on a screen, but those numbers are people. So it plays around with some of that kind of stuff, which I liked, and I think you are rooting for the characters in the end, and you hope they get out of it. I think the ending is fairly predictable, where it goes and all of that, and it's an action movie, and the dogs are the horror.
Yeah.
As far as like violence and gore and deaths and all of that, nothing really to report there. Mostly anything like that is just happening off screen, or they're just kind of biting like in an area and we don't really see anything. No one's like getting torn apart or anything, which is kind of a downside of the movie. But when you spend so much money on a movie, you want to have it more mass appeal to it, and most people don't want to see dogs tearing people apart. But I don't know why you're going to watch a killer dog movie unless you want to see the dog tear people apart. That's my own personal opinion. People are weird.
Yeah.
So that's that. Project Silence. I actually have no idea when this comes out, but I will put it in the description below if you want to know, because I will be able to read the email as soon as we're off of here, and I will let you know there. So other than that, we'll see you in the comments, and look out for Project Silence if you're into killer doggy movies set on a collapsing bridge, because there's so many of those.
In Korea.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.